If you love the beauty of fall on your cards, then this video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video, I am sharing a whole bunch of the Altenew October release. This release has everything from stamps to dies to stencils to embossing folders and more. I've got lots to share with you today, so let's jump right into the card making and I'll share the new products as we go. Before we start the card making, I want to show two different items that are some of my favorite items released this month. This is the Perfect Picker. It's a tool that can be used to pick up small gems, small die cuts, and to help place them as well. I love how beautiful the tool is. It has on one side a pick, and that pick is sharp but not pinpoint sharp. The other side is a wax tip, and that's what's used to pick up the gems and sequins and things like that. This is the Pocket Organizer by Altenew. I love these. They are super sturdy. They have a flap that closes them. Again, they're printed with that beautiful gold print. But the thing that's really awesome about them is that they can fit an entire bundle. When I save a bundle, I like to save this card that shows different color combinations. It also shows usually how to color in the background of the stamp or whatever it is with the stencil. So I like to keep those in the pocket, and that takes up a lot of room, but not in these pockets. They're very roomy. The bundle this month also came with stencils and an embossing folder and a die set. You can fit all of that in this pocket. It stays together and it's not crunched in at all. I was jamming them into my regular die pockets and it really wasn't working for me, but these are absolutely amazing. They are perfect for the large bundles like this with the 6x8 stamp sets. For this first card, we'll start out using that pumpkin patch bundle that you just saw. So the stamp set is an assortment of pumpkins. I'll first stamp it on an A2 piece of white cardstock using the stamp wheel and some black ink, and that will give me that black outline that you can create with a stamp and coloring. But instead of coloring in that outline, I will use the layering stencils and some blending brushes and some colorful inks to color it in. Now for this background, I will start with some traditional oranges and things like that, but I want to make this a slightly non-traditional color combination. So I will add in some coral colors, some yellows, little bits of grays, some peach colors, even slightly pink colors. This way I get a real assortment of pumpkins on this card background. And for me, I love the new color combinations that people are putting out in home decor with different pink pumpkins and things like that. I think it really adds to the joy of decorating for Halloween if you don't have to stick to a color combination that maybe you're not as big a fan of. So there's also some sentiments in that stamp set. There's this large thank you, and then there are sub-sentiments as well. The large sentiments have dies to cut them out that you can get, and for the smaller sub-sentiments I just cut them into strips, and then I'll use some foam tape to pop them up. Super easy. What I really like about the Altenew bundles though is that they come with so many different options. Here's the 3D embossing folder. It's that same image of the pumpkins, so you could use the stencils to color it in and you would have a different effect. Instead of the black outline, you would have a no line coloring image, and you would also have that embossed part of the image, so it would look dimensional. Instead of using the stencils, I'm just doing some ink blending. I have some of the new orangey colors that came out this month of inks. They are perfect for the fall and for beyond. Honestly, these orange colors would be great in summer as well. But I just did a gradient of color from top to bottom, and now I'll take the stamp set and stamp out a sentiment and a sub-sentiment, this time with embossing ink, and use some Altenew gold embossing powder to heat set that and add a nice look touch of gold to this otherwise very orange card. So I'll add the die, use it with a little bit of tape to cut it out and hold it in place. And once again, I really like the foam tape to pop this up just to have a little distance from the background. Super easy card, but I really love how rich those orange colors show up when you ink blend them. Next up, we have the Fairyland Florals bundle. So this is a 3D embossing folder with a stencil. Just like I mentioned before, you can stencil right over an embossed background, and that's what I'll do here. Now, most of my cards in this video will have the traditional fall colors, lots of oranges, some browns, some deep purples. But for this card, I wanted to use two of the other ink sets that are now available at Altenew. There's a blue set and then a green set. And this Sweet Leaf is one of my favorite new colors that are available. So I wanted to use a color combination of some blues and greens. And then for the flower centers, I did add a little bit of yellow and orange just to make those pop. This is the One Go Solid Sentiment Strips press plate. For this first use of the press plate, I am using it as a press plate. So I'm using some black ink on top. You can scrub back and forth the way I'm doing here on press plates. Because of the texture of the press plates, you don't have to tap every single time to get the ink to sit on those press plates. So a little bit of swiping is absolutely fine, even though you wouldn't necessarily do that on a stamp. And when that comes out, it comes out all those sentiments pressed at the same time. There's a one die to cut them all out as well. So I grabbed one of those that says, "I miss you," and I'll pop that up on this card. I have a second sentiment. I thought, since I've pressed so many, I might as well use more than one. Why not? So it says, "Hello, my friend." And I thought those two sentiments went really well together, and they perfectly fit in the opening area of this card that I've stenciled and embossed. And then I add some Blue Mountains enamel dots for some shine and dimension. This is the Knit and Natter stamp set. It's a really cute small stamp set with a ball of yarn that you can stamp out. I decided to cut a piece of cardstock into a square so that I could stamp the ball of yarn in all four corners of the square just by rotating the stamp wheel. That makes it really easy. But for the little detailed layer, I'm stamping one on one ball of yarn and one on the other ball of yarn. So that's a little bit different, but I can just flip them over and then do them on the bottom as well. Super, super cute. There's also little crochet hooks. I decided to add those in a little X in between these balls of yarn just to have a little bit of less white space on the card. And then there's really cute sentiments. This one says, "I'm hooked on you," which I thought was adorable. There's also a little squirrel of yarn that's sort of escaping the ball, and so I did that on each of the balls of yarn as well. I cut this down so that I could pop it up on some black cardstock, and this would be a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square card. Next up, we have the layering pumpkin dies. There are 3 different sizes of pumpkins that you can create, and they each have several layers that you can glue on top of each other. Of course, you could use the same color of cardstock for each layer. I decided to choose different colors of cardstock for each pumpkin and for each layer. The only thing that's the same is the stem color. I decided to use those all the same so that it would just make it easier for me, even though the die cuts out all 3 stems at once. Next, I cut out the Zero Waste Autumn Leaves die. So it creates this really pretty background that I've cut out of white cardstock, but they're zero waste because all of those leaves that cut out can be used on another card, or you can do a die cut inlay if you want. I decided to use mine just white over some gold mirror cardstock with the pumpkins popped up and one of the sentiments that says "thinking of you." But here now, let's use those leaves that came out of the zero waste die cut. So I just have a bunch of different inks, some brushes from Altenew, and I'll just kind of enjoy creating different colorful leaves. These are really easy to do. You can just start on the edges and go slightly lighter towards the middle so that those edges have that brighter or darker look. You can add two different colors like I did on that little one there. If you add brown to an already colored in leaf, it's going to look like the leaf is changing color, which I think is really beautiful. So easy to create that look, and you don't really have to do anything very artistic to create it. So here I'll have an A2 piece of colorful cardstock as a mat and a 4x5¼ piece of white cardstock. I have one of those One Go sentiments that says sending big hugs, and then I'll create a cluster of those leaves. I have 3 of the larger ones down at the bottom, and then I fill in the open spaces with some of those smaller leaves and adding different colors in. I'll just pop up that sentiment because I like the way that looks as well. It's a really clean and simple card, but I had so much fun creating those leaves. Next up, we have the Botanical Elegance watercolor coloring book. Now, this is a great coloring book because each of these pieces can be pulled out and used as a card. So they are a larger size than A2, and so I usually color the entire thing and then just cut it down to an A2 card. You could make a larger card as well. I'm also using some of the Altenew watercolor brushes. I bought these for myself because I love brushes like this that make it really easy to do some very basic watercoloring. So the cardstock that you're working on here is an actual watercolor cardstock, so you'll be able to use water and to blend as well. The ink will move around and it will really smooth out. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. You don't have to do anything super fancy. I'm not a watercolor artist. I just enjoy doing coloring like this, especially with these pens. They make it so easy to start with that darker color and then use the little bit of water or water brush to move that color out. You can also use the color directly on your glass mat or whatever work surface you have. I have 2 different colors of cardstock matted on top of each other, and so I trimmed that painting down even smaller than 4x5¼ and then I have this long sentiment strip that says thank you for your kindness, which stretches across, which I really like the look of. It's just something a little different. And I have the new coffee break enamel dots just to add a little bit of shine there. Now, this is that One Go sentiment press plate, but I'm using it this time in the glimmer machine with some Altenew foil taped onto an A2 piece of white cardstock. I'll run it through just like I would any other hot foil plate because these press plates can be used as foil plates as well. So this circle is from the Essentials circles. They are press plates again. They are so much fun to use as press plates, but I also love using them as foil plates once again. So I'm just doing a whole bunch of foiling all at once to get my foiling done, and then I'll be able to use that in all of a bunch of different cards. So you can see I've foiled on top of a circle with another press plate, and here I have that fuchsia color of Altenew's foil. Once I had the foiling done, I could die cut out all of those sentiments using that One Go die that cuts out all the sentiments in one pass. So now I have a ton of gold foiled sentiments where the text is white. I love that look. I think it's absolutely beautiful. For this fuchsia circle, I'll cut it down to 4x5¼ mat it on some cardstock from Altenew. Lots of gorgeous colors of cardstock are available now, so I used that Zero Waste Leaves die to cut out several colors of jewel tones, and then I'll just put those around the circle like a wreath. I'll add my sentiment to the center and then a few enamel dots around the outside. Super, super simple, but has a totally different look than every other card that I made for this release. For that gold circle that I foiled the little circle dots over top, I'll cut that down so that I can mat it on some pink cardstock. I really love the look of gold and light pink together, and so I thought this would be the perfect way to use this piece. Now, I did not foil this directly in the center. That's why I'm flipping it around like a million times. So I cut a little bit off one side, a little bit off the other side, just to make sure it's kind of straight towards the center of that cardstock. And then I have one of those long sentiments, and I'll stretch it across and then use some of the little enamel dots that are hearts from that coffee break set. Those little hearts and stars are a great little addition to those enamel dot sets so that you have lots of options there. I don't know about you, but I am looking so forward to an actual fall, some cooler weather, and some beautiful fall colors in the air. I couldn't pick a favorite supply this month, but if you have one, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Card making, and I was going to say be sure to share again.